What's up, everyone? It's Nico-san Larsen from Team Universe Z, coming off of a enjoyable weekend where I played in the Gamerz 6K. I placed in the top 16, unfortunately losing to Robert Rizzi's launch deck that he was playing. I went 4-2, lost round one, and went 4-0, and then lost to a Boma Earthling deck in the final round before cutting the top 16. And just wanting to bring you the deck that I ran in the past weekend. And the leader was Tien. Tien is an interesting leader to build around because his engine takes up way too much space in the deck, so you have to kind of build around it. Basically what the leader does, when you attack, you can choose to draw a card. Well, you draw a card, and then you can choose to take a life after seeing that card. This is like one of the only leaders that can do that, where you see the card that you draw from the deck first before choosing to actually take a life. And it makes it for an interesting choice. So like if you go against any aggro decks, you don't have to actually take the life against like Reboot Gohan or Majin Vegeta. And then he has an activate main that says once per game, you search for a 1-drop Chaozu, and then you put it into your hand. So you basically search for the Chaozu that enables your engine, so you don't have to play an exorbitant amount of cards just to see one card of your engine. His Awaken Ability is you play 3 tokens, so you play 3 multiform tokens, and then you untap an energy. Basically, the 3 tokens are, I usually use them for 15k combo later on when I go for game or if I have to defend like any attack. They're very useful because it's pretty much gaining basically 3 cards in your hand, pretty much. And then on the Awaken side, he has when he attacks, he draws a card and then gains 5k. And then his extra effect down here is when you have a total of 3 multiforms and or Tien cards, you can basically KO a 4 or less battle card and then he gains crit. You don't have to KO a card to gain crit at all. So basically what you do is you swing. If you don't see anything you want to KO, he just gains crit as long as you have the 3 tokens and or Tiens. So you can have any combination. So onto the deck. Just wanting to get into Unison package. So we got 4 Dormants, of course. I only had 3 freezes. I can only find 3 of them. I would have played 4 if I could have found the 4th one. And then you have 4 Bardock Paternal Unison. This Unison comes in clutch for any combo heavy deck. So like if you go against King Piccolo, this card pretty much while they're on the front side, this card guarantees your win. This is probably one of the freest ways that you face against King Piccolo. And then this has a really good matchup against Launch. I didn't see it most of the time when I was playing against Robert. So most of the time he was able to just run over me with all of his combo power that he was able to do. And then as a one-of, I played a Vegeta Resolute Agent of Destruction. Basically 4-drop board wipe when he comes out. And then he becomes a 25k double strike crit. The neg 5 doesn't normally happen. And I haven't played him much, so I'm probably going to take him out in any future builds I do with this. Further combos, cards that I have in the deck. So I have 2 Preemptive Strike. This card, I don't know why people aren't playing if you're playing green. You need a way to stop cards as you go throughout like the rest of your game. I mostly had this in against Invoker because when they go to play a 3-drop Rival Seeker, you basically slam this card down if they don't already look at your hand. And I played 2 just for the simple fact that if I had both of them in my hand and I went against Invoker, I'd literally keep these cards because they're going to look at my hand, take one out, and if they go to play Rival Seeker, I just have the second one. Some 1-drops in the deck. I have Trading Blows Son Goku. So Tien has the World Martial Arts tournament trait on him, which basically means that you get to play this card. So this card I played most of the time besides of the Tien because you're able to take out a card from your opponent's hand before they even get to like charge on their turn. So they're basically playing a card turned down, so it's like they're going first with this card. And then with the Bardock, you the combo basically turn 1 against some decks, you play this, they go down to 5 on their turn, they charge, most likely have 6 in hand, go to your turn, charge, play this, KO this card, and then they have to discard a card. Another one drop that I play is Kakunsa. This card actually won me a game one time because it becomes 20k double strike as long as your opponent has 8 or more cards in hand. So you basically burst 2, and then she becomes a 20k double strike, which this is actually going to become really relevant going into like the later sets going on down the line, because hand control right now is in an awkward spot where you can do hand control, but you're not focusing like the deck on that. And this basically allows you to benefit off of your opponent having such a large hand, because now you have a double strike attack that you can just willingly have on your board. It's like Basil pretty much, but this is a more pressuring card because you can go for life or you can go for a unison without like actually committing like the second card. So we have the Chaozu and Tien package. Basically, you search this Chaozu off the leader, and then when he dies, he plays this guy. This is basically just a 3-drop barrier. He's just there so that you can get your combo off. The main focus of the deck is the 4-drop Goku and then the 5-drop Tien. So basically, when you have this guy out specifically, or any green battle card, you play this card and then you're able to take a life, so you're able to self-awaken if you need to. He has unique and barrier, so most of the time when you play him, he's not going anywhere. And then when you play this card, he becomes 25k triple strike, and then you have a 20k double strike along with him because he has deflect, so most of these counterplays aren't going to affect him unless they have like something that removes barrier, which is going to just get rid of him. This is still 20k double strike, so it's still really good to play even if you don't have him if they get rid of him. So basically, like, the combo goes Chaozu comes out with the lead, he dies, you play the 3-drop, then you play the 4-drop, and then you play the 5-drop. This will ultimately lead to the SCR that I played in the deck, and I will say that this combo is very glass cannon-y. Like, if your opponent knows what they're going to do, this deck really is predictable because you can kill on turn 3, but sometimes if your opponent plays around it, like if they prep and they just get rid of the Goku, then that's probably like the most depressing thought of the deck. So going into some of the negate package, I play 2 of the announcer. So this guy came in clutch when I played against Baby specifically, because he stopped me from playing most of my combo and I just needed to like play stuff to get me cards. So playing this is basically Pot of Greed as soon as you play him. If you have 2 or more other world tournaments, when you play him on your turn, you draw 2 cards. Otherwise, he's just a 1-drop negate that you can just use to combo off when, for any attacks. We have 2 Sparking Shocking Death Balls. Basically, Sparking 5, this can come out for you taking a life and then you KO something 2 or less, or you can pay an energy for it. Another negate that I have is Kakunsa. Kakunsa has pretty much been a green staple for cards. Basically, this card becomes a 2-drop negate, and then you KO anything when she comes out, not ignoring barrier. Another negate that I think is going to become prevalent later on is Homicidal Clones. I really wish that I played multiple of this, but I think a 1-of in a best-of-3 event is really good because this allows you to self-awaken when you want to at 5 or less life. And he creates a blocker, which isn't that relevant, but it will help if you're going like against something that Dormant doesn't like cause. So it'd be like if you Dormant someone and they're able to swing like through Dormant, this basically creates just the card that you need to make a token so that you can Dormant and then choose to block with the token. So some personal choices of mine. So I played 2 Rosie. This card is very situational. I don't think that this card is the greatest. Basically, when she comes in, she has deflect, and then if your leader card is green, your opponent has to discard 2 cards, and then she becomes she gains triple attack. If I played like Double Strike Kai or anything in the main board, this card would be absolutely amazing. I just don't see this card in this format coming out as much unless you're actually stalling the game. because so many decks are able to kill on like turn 3 or turn 4, so this card doesn't really matter in the early matchups. Played 2 Cells Kamehameha. Basically, this is just a way to get my life to stay at a high total, basically. And plus, he's able to rip out a card, which will enable one of the cards that I have somewhere in here. We basically have 2 of the Ribrians. 2 Ribrians because this is basically just a staple of any of the cards that like become drop area. Unless you're playing against black, this card like never leaves your drop area unless you use it yourself. Dark Broly is pretty much one of the hardest matchups for green because it's able to remove anything that you have to do anything against it. Then a green staple, Son Goku Power of Legend. So Power of Legend is in here because he is a 15k crit threat that you can basically use whenever you have your opponent discard a card. This came up a lot actually in this tournament, and I actually found this to be one of my MVPs against a lot of matchups that wanted to see their life. All the time, I will warp this to get rid of blockers if I have to. I have warped this card without using like an attack with it, just because of a blocker that would benefit my opponent from it dying. So, like, if you played the mirror match, this is pretty much going to be the one of the cards that you play, but I didn't play against any. And this gets rid of all the blockers that Baby creates if they allow this to come out. And then my super combo of choice is 4 Paragus. I wanted to maybe try out just 4 of him. Throughout the whole tournament, I really wish that I had a split of 2 of this and 2 of the A18 super combo, just because I would have been able to benefit off of guarding my life a little bit more when I needed it the most. Plus, sometimes when you block with the Chaozu, you do not want to have it die sometimes, because you are wanting it to stay out for Bardock specifically. So if they swing with their lead and they don't combo anything into this, you use a 18 to have them bottom deck a card. But other than that, I think this is fine. And then some of the one-ofs, so I have obviously Fu Shrouded. Fu Shrouded is basically a late game monster where if you just like, your opponent wants to drive it into the late game, this card basically auto wins you the game. I played 1 Son Goku Hidden Might. So a lot of people had this card like not on their radar. You should totally pick up this card, because when you go against any aggro matchup, this card will win you a game. He comes out for 2 if you have 3 or less life. He can either KO something ignoring barrier, or you can remove a marker off of Unison. You're mostly going to use this to KO a card, but he becomes a 25 double strike while he is out on the board. And in this meta where like Shinhan and all that's running around, where like they take their life so much, this becomes deadly when you play it, because you get rid of one of their cards that they're going to block with because it ignores barrier. And then you swing at their lead, and they are forced to either take this or they're going to waste a lot of cards in hand. And we all know that Shinhan on the backside doesn't mean anything anymore if they're playing the aggro variant. And then my super combo, my secret rare, speaking. So here it's Supreme Kai, but a placeholder that I was using for its Cell Xeno that I was using as my secret rare of choice. Basically, this is just because I had to give it back to my buddy Devin Butterworth, who let me use it. Thank you so much, man, for letting me using Cell Xeno. But I think maybe Supreme Kai is the better choice, because this impacts the board a lot more than Cell Xeno does, actually. I only used Cell Xeno once this whole weekend, and like it didn't feel like I needed it at all. I feel like if I would have had this, it would have benefited me more against the matchups that I was weak against. Moving into the sideboard, we basically have the staple 2 max power. Max power removes anything that's greater than their energy, basically goes to the warp. 2 BMS. 2 BMS basically was for anything that cheated out 15k or less. 2 Vegeta, protecting his loved ones. This was just for blue. Basically, you play this, and then Baby can't untap anything with D magic. 2 Blue Impulse. Blue Impulse was in here specifically for Mecha Frieza, actually, because they like to arrival Bojack on my turn, so I can just basically KO their whole field with this card. I played one Hidden Power Isekai. Basically, I didn't want this to be in the main board because I didn't think it was needed. This probably will get put into the main board eventually. I just don't know at what time. 1 Fu the Dark Banisher. Fu the Dark Banisher is such a good card against Dark Broly. Unfortunately, in my round 1 matchup, I didn't see this card at all, so I wasn't able to capitalize on its effect. 2 Secret Identity. Secret Identity is here for any decks that have like weenies that you need to get rid of. Basically, any blockers that would blockers that would get in the way of what you're trying to do in this deck. 2 Metacooler, Terrifying Horde. This card was just personal choice because if I get behind in such a stall matchup, this card actually provides me what I need to get forward in the matchup because it discards a card that I can draw 2 more to see. Plus, playing a token that's able to pressure an Awaken Leader is actually really good in this day and age. And then the last card is Goku Solar Flare. Basically, this is a negate that you can use to stop any blockers. This was for Bulma matchup, actually, and I didn't even get to use it in the Bulma matchup because Travis basically aggroed me down so much to where this didn't even matter, even when I wanted to decide to use it as a negate. So, basically, overall, I think the tournament experience was amazing. Gamerz was able to basically provide a safe environment for even people like who are afraid of coming out with COVID. Wanted to shout out to my sponsor, Universe Z, Marquise, Justin, and Christian. They're providing such a great team that they can have an environment with, basically able to test play at any time. Shout out to Gamerz in general for them holding out a tournament that was able to provide so much. And just wanted to say, if you are wanting to play this game, you should get out and whenever there are any physical events possible, because getting back to normal is amazing feeling. Thank you, everyone. Make sure you subscribe to Universe C, and I'll see you in the next video.